Hey everyone, thanks for joining us and happy 2022. My name is Ali Booth. I'm the social media manager here at VidCon, and today we are highlighting the platforms that you should keep an eye out for here in the new year in 2022. Before we get started, don't forget to log in at the top right corner of your screen so you can participate in the live chat and ask our panelists as many questions as you would like. If you don't already have an account, you can create one new using the same login button at the top right corner of your screen again. But once you're logged in, we can go ahead and get started here. The first guest is Ari Evans, founder and CEO of Maestro. So welcome, Ari. Can we bring him up and chat all things Maestro? Hello.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for being here. I'm so excited to kick it off with you, especially because, fun fact for everybody who is tuning in and watching us live here, you are actually watching this stream on Maestro, which is a fun little inception moment that might be kind of confusing for people to wrap their heads around. So can you kind of just explain to start and give us, I guess, an overview of what exactly Maestro is?
Sure, happy to. So, Maestro is a platform for creators to get paid to do what they love.
Mm-hmm.
We also work with a lot of businesses who either service creators or they have live interactive content. And in a nutshell, it's really an all in one solution that can be completely customized to whatever the brand might be. So, it could be the creator's brand, it could be the VidCon brand, it could be an individual. We work with big companies like Epic with Fortnite, and a lot of stuff in esports. We do a lot of stuff in the sports world, a lot of stuff in music. We work with Billie Eilish and Lady Gaga and some big stars there. But more recently, we've been really pushing into like individual creators and helping them really build out their identity around streaming and video, trying to make more money, own the direct relationship with their audiences, and build a sustainable business.
Yeah, I mean, I think that direction is really interesting. You had me at Billie Eilish, but that being said, I think at its core, really speaking to creators at every level is something that is really important and something that, especially, at VidCon, we cherish so much. Can you go back in time and like give us the origin story of Maestro? Like, what inspired you to create this platform? Obviously, it has created such a community of connectivity in the digital space, especially during this time where we need it the most. But was it a product of the pandemic or something that was in the works and moving along before all of that even happened in the world?
So, great question. We actually came up with Maestro way before the pandemic, and we've been
Mm.
working on interactive live streaming for years. But really, during the pandemic, it brought the whole world into this paradigm, right? This medium. What could be
Yeah.
done actually with video on the internet that's different from how we use video everywhere else, right? Because this is an interactive medium we can play with.
Mhm.
So, believe it or not, the business started off with music festivals. We launched with Ultra Music Festival in Miami, and then we went to Coachella and did the Grammys and other stuff in music. And around that time, we said, hey, we've got this awesome thing. What if we just use it for anything live? So we went to different verticals one at a time. We went to esports and started doing a lot of stuff in gaming. Then we went into traditional sports. And then when the pandemic hit in 2020, it was just like, boom, all these different use cases, podcasts, if it's cooking shows, conferences, beauty stars, people coming over from other platforms like YouTube and Twitch who want to have more control over their destinies and not be subject to an algorithm. It's just been a crazy ride since the pandemic started.
No, I mean, I can imagine. I think that for us, it's something we've become so used to now, this like streaming interactive component that we've become so used to. And obviously at VidCon, we as a brand use Maestros so frequently that it feels like such a second home to us. But who else should be using the platform? Like, is it something that really anybody can get on? And where do you kind of see that opportunity for just the everyday creator?
Yeah, so for the longest time, it wasn't for everybody. We were
Mhm.
going after more of the business route and trying to help those businesses get more interactivity with their audiences, find some new ways to make money. But around the middle of last year, we decided, like, hey, why can't we just democratize this and give it to any creator of any size? You could just be getting started, or you could be having been done this for years and have a big following. So in the fall last year, we actually announced Maestro for Creators, which is exactly that. It's a much cheaper version of the product, Anyone can sign up. There's a free trial. Try it out on our website. And we are continuing to discover more and more about what individual creators want. So, everyone kind of throws around this number. There's 50 million creators. That number feels old. So I'm sure it's much bigger now, especially during the pandemic. But, 1 in 3 kids in the US wants to be a creator when they grow up. Everyone knows that stat. So we just feel like this is the beginning of a lot more people trying to do this. And for us, it's about how do we help you turn this into a business, turn this into something that can actually be a career for you?
Mhm.
Because a lot of the monetization models, like for YouTube and Twitch, like require you to have huge viewership.
Right.
But it turns out that if you do some different things like subscriptions, pay-per-view events, merch sales, tipping, then you've really got a lot more ways to make money. And suddenly people with small audiences have a business too.
Yeah, and I love this idea that are really thinking about what you could do for the creator to make this a platform that they really thrive on and can excel on. And I think one thing that stood out to me is just, this word custom that you mentioned a few minutes ago. When it comes to these interactive platforms, really creating a custom experience and something that, these creators aren't just a slave to the algorithm, the almighty
Right.
algorithm that everyone has grown to resent. Can you go into detail on that a little bit? In what ways are creators able to make a custom experience both for themselves and for the users that they hope to join them on Maestro?
So this is like the best part about us. We
Okay.
are white label, and that means that your brand comes first. If you're on Twitch, you're on Twitch, you're on YouTube, you're there because it's their brand right in front.
Mhm.
We think that the creator is the one creating the value, so much more so even nowadays than the platforms themselves. So it should be their brand. And we go even further than that. You know, if you could decide what the features would be, would you like to do that? Because that's what we give you the choice to do. If you don't want to make money this way, or you want to have a video chat or a text chat, or you want to sell merch, don't want to sell merch, you want to turn tips off or on, we have new features rolling into the platform all the time that you can just turn on with one click, kind of like installing an app from an app store. So really the vision is that down the road, every niche of creators in their own space has like an app that's specific to them that really helps them build out the specific offering they want. It really feels like their community and their brand.
It sounds like a dream come true for a creator. Um, but I think that especially when you're talking about these features that are so customizable that you can really dream anything into existence. I'd love to hear a little bit about the features that you guys really have planned moving into the new year, moving into 2022. Now that this Maestro for Creators has been rolled out and is kind of available for everybody, how are you guys going to keep that ball rolling? Are there any exciting new features that you can tease that you guys have in the works?
Totally. So the general loop of how customers use us is they customize their experience, then they go live, and then they measure the data because we give really the best in class analytics that exist on the market. So you can really learn about how to improve because that's what creators want. Like, how do I grow this? How do I, build this up more? So this year is all about following those same principles, right? We're continuing to make the platform simpler and simpler. How can I just make you look like you've been doing this for 10 years when you've been doing it for a month, right? A day. Part of that is even the software we're using right now, StreamYard. We're thinking a lot about how do you make StreamYard like shows natively inside of your Maestro experience. So we might have something like that coming out pretty soon, something like a studio type of product.
Okay.
We have a bunch of new ways for people to make money. Two of the ones that are around the corner are tipping and selling and renting VODs. So you can actually sell like a VOD later on
Mhm.
or rent it for a few days. And we have a lot of new monetization mechanisms coming, like a pay what you want ticket for the paywall,
Mhm.
and just more and more ways that you can build out pages of your experience, not just like your channel,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, I think some of those really stand out as being almost like surprising that you can combine all of these different features on one platform. What would you say is, and this is actually an audience question that we have. Jill asks, what are some of the ways that people are using Maestro that's really surprised you since its launch? Like, has there been anything that has really, in a good way, kind of put you back and said, wow, this is really cool that they're doing this, they're bringing this to Maestro?
The use cases for how people use us have been so diverse, right? We never, for example, thought people were going to do podcasts with us, but now people are doing video podcasts, and some of them are putting them behind a paywall once a month and making crazy money from that just because they have their really dedicated fan bases. We've seen some other cases, just some really interactive stuff going on in the gaming world. Like, how do you bring the game data in to make the watch experience more unique? How do you add more social elements? People are using Watch Together, which is like a video chat room experience. So that's like really fun and unique. And also watching like shoppable video really take off. And it's not just shopping shows like Amazon Live, which is amazing, but also like you go to watch a concert, but then you also buy merch while you're watching the concert live stream. So we're seeing like all these different use cases kind of like meld together. And the cool thing about our platform is that because it's so customizable, anybody can actually build new features into it, not just our company. So if there's these new use cases, developers can add to it. You know, you just check out like what we did with Justin Bieber with Wave. That was super unique. Or with 21 Pilots with their album release. There's like these really cool case studies on our website you can check out just to get some imagination for what people are doing.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you guys have a lot of really exciting things going on over at Maestro. We have a couple of other panelists that we're really excited to chat with. But before I let you go, how can our audience get in contact with your team and learn more?
Best place to first go is our website, which has a ton of information. That's maestro.io.
Okay.
And you can also find us on most social channels with the same handle, maestro_io on most platforms.
All right.
Or you can just tweet me directly. I'm at Mario Ario.
Oh, okay. There we go. Direct line. Ari, thank you so much for chatting with us. And everyone, I know that everyone really enjoyed learning more about Maestro, and I'm excited to see all of the amazing things that you guys have planned for 2022.
Can't wait. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks again.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Next up, we are chatting with Sid Kalla, founder and CTO of Roll. Welcome, Sid.
Hey, Ali, great to be here.
I know. Great to have you. Thanks so much for joining us. Last time we saw you was actually at VidCon Abu Dhabi last month. So it's exciting to catch up again and learn more about Roll and what you guys are doing now, bringing it into the new year as a platform to watch in 2022. Because I think I can speak for a lot of our audience when I say that the world of crypto seems to be changing constantly. And it feels like right now we're at just like the tip top peak. It is what everybody is talking about. And I'm really excited to learn more about how Roll is really keeping up with all of that. I know that, especially when it comes to your platform, there is this unique kind of moment where you're at the intersection of both crypto and the creator economy. Can you kind of tell me more about what you're building at Roll, in the simplest way possible for our audience members who might not be familiar with the platform?
Yes, I think, maybe like setting the stage a little bit will always help. So if you were to rewind, like close to the start of the millennium, so 20 years ago, that's pretty much the start of the online social world as we know that today. Everything that you know since, right, like, posting a status update, posting a tweet, posting a video, sharing images, like all of that can very broadly, you can classify that as user-generated content, right? And that's very valuable. And we know that's valuable because companies like Facebook are close to $1 trillion in market cap. But as Ari was mentioning just now, like most of that value is actually generated by the creators, right? Like the platform, Facebook doesn't hire journalists to write stories, for instance. So we are uniquely in this position right now where with blockchain technology and with some of the primitives that crypto enables, we're able to move from that user-generated content into this new shift of like user-generated capital, which is a way of kind of saying that independent of the underlying platform, like you as a creator and the communities can really own the value that you're generating on the platforms. So social tokens basically allow the communities to capture most of that value as opposed to that being captured at the platform level. And it can very easily move across the web. So traditional platforms that already exist, Web3 platforms, the emerging metaverse platforms, like whatever comes next. And role specifically, like our job is at the infrastructure level. So which is to say that, so something very similar to what Stripe did for online payments. Prior to Stripe, it was very,
Oh, I'm sorry. I think it cut out for just a second. But I think that's a really interesting point that you bring up that, with a lot of traditional platforms, creators really are at this space where, like you said, they are partaking in user generated content, but not necessarily user generated capital, which is going to, the platform level. And I feel like that's a huge benefit for the creator joining role, because especially if they're a full-time creator, because they're no longer at the mercy of these monetary stipulations that they would be on other platforms. It's kind of revolutionary. It's allowing these creators to own the value of their community. If I'm a creator, what do I do and how do I get started on Roll?
Yeah, it's a great question, right? So like traditionally, when you think of creator monetization, you're probably thinking of something like Patreon, which is built like a very good model that like started to show creators what's possible. But again, like what you can uniquely do with the blockchain and what that enables is scarcity, which is not something that any traditional web platform can create. So imagine if we were to issue Ali as a social token on Roll. So like, what would that look like, right? So similar to how Bitcoin has a maximum supply of 21 million, every social token that's issued on Roll has a maximum supply of 10 million. So if I were to own, like through, like earning, right? Basically, like if I were to earn, say 10,000 allies in our example, that's 0.1% of the entire community that you are building. So imagine that you have curated this community of social media experts, managers, creators, kind of just entering this new world, helping creators like understand how to succeed in these new paradigms, right? And this is a very unique model. Like again, it's not possible with any Web2 platforms, and because crypto is so independent, you can actually do some of these concepts. So this concept of, let's say, like you can't do that with a subscribe on YouTube or like on OnlyFans or any other like platform that but like this idea of owning a piece of a community is like really really powerful. And we can also like work with any of the platforms. Like anyone can integrate with social tokens, like using Roll APIs or directly on the blockchain as well, right? So that's, I guess, like also the power behind building sort of neutral platform like a blockchain, as opposed to just relying on third-party APIs like Facebook's or Twitter.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree. I think there's such a power in that as a model. And it really puts the creator first in many ways, which I think too is a huge shift in the overall space and industry as it is. And you bring up, just this quick comparison just to, talk numbers between, with Bitcoin. Can you give us a little bit more, like what is Roll doing differently than other crypto services at their core? Can you talk about that a little bit? I'm super curious.
Yeah, so we are like really trying to get the next billion people into crypto. And in many ways, they'll probably be using crypto without even knowing that. So it's very similar to being in the early days of the internet, where like creating a website was very, very hard. Like if you're trying to do this in the 90s, and you have to be very technical, you need to know a lot of things. Whereas like right now, it's fairly straightforward to do that, or build like a Facebook page or something where you have an online presence. It's much easier to do. So you can always think of like Roll as like lowering that barrier to entry to enter the space, right? So one thing that we do is like we kind of create these bridges from Web 2 to Web 3. So signing up to Roll can be as easy as signing up to any social platform that you have, and then over time, like you can move into the more decentralized website of things. Like once you get comfortable with these ideas, and the reason we think that's like a good way to do that is because communities already exist. So we don't need to create them from scratch. So like Roll is not going to build a platform that says, so we're not competing with, like say, Clubhouse. Like we're not going to build an audio app that people can come, and then we're starting from scratch, right? So
Mm.
we're just doing something like very different. Like what the next Clubhouse is not going to be built by Roll, but Roll will power the next Clubhouse. So that's kind of like where we see, I guess, like our main advantage.
So then if there isn't this sense of competitorship with other platforms like a Clubhouse per se, in this way, what kind of opportunities do you see for, I guess, how can these platforms and perhaps even other companies work with Roll? Like, what does the partnership element look like there for, like you're saying, the next Clubhouse?
Yeah, so like you just spoke with like Maestro, for example, like just before our
Mhm.
talk with Ari. So if a platform like that, for example, like were to like integrate social tokens, for them there's a whole world of complexity that comes with managing crypto in house, and that may not be necessarily your business model. So what we do is we provide a very simple API that any platform can utilize and implement on their side. So just make that super simple, and like Roll takes care of all the backend tasks. So how that would look like would be, so let's say you have a room on Maestro or any similar platform like that. You can have like one button that says something like issue my social token, and then you can enter that information, and then we will issue this token on the blockchain for you. And then the platform can natively select what features they want. So here's like one example that we've seen several platforms implement that's worked well. So imagine an idea where instead of broadcasting everything to everyone who is like in your community, you only broadcast to your biggest followers, like people who have a stake in your success. And the best way to do that is like people who hold your social tokens.
Mhm.
So if you say, for example, that in order to enter a room, I need, say, 100 units of my social token, like 100 Ali to enter your room, for example.
Mhm.
So that's a, like a more curated experience that you can build, and that incentivizes people to hold Ali now, because I'm very interested and curious to see what it means like to be a part of your community.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting, and to put it in those terms and to bring myself into it, obviously. We actually have an audience question that I think, is kind of along the same lines of, going back to the beginning there, because Kathy asks, she says, if I'm honest, I'm so weary of cryptocurrency because I'm from a totally non-educated perspective. It seems quite volatile. What advice do you have so I can gain trust in crypto and ultimately roll as well?
Yeah, so crypto is kind of like a very broad category. It would almost be like saying, um, like I'm tired of the web, which in some ways like can be like maybe you are tired of some of the algorithms that Twitter wants to like show you some rich culture and things, right? So I think like as we mature as an industry, like that kind of naturally like also like dips. We're in very new space. It also is it's almost like a startup journey in some ways, right? Like if you were to trade Facebook stock in 2005, like its journey would probably look something like what Bitcoin does, with like extreme levels of volatility, like everyday movements. I'm sure like several places in its history, like people thought that company might not make it, right? And then your value is going to drop. It's just unfortunate that it's in a very public eye in some ways in crypto. So like with what we do at Roll, a lot of the, first of all, like many of them do have markets, but many social tokens also don't. So you cannot, so the only way you can do this is by a creator giving you some of their social tokens. And over time, the markets can mature. So we take a very wait and see approach. So if you were, again, in our example, like if we were to issue like allies with Roll, we wouldn't really do, so it wouldn't have a market today. Like you wouldn't say like, oh, so can I sell it for $1 and is it like 50 cents tomorrow? That can happen once the market's matured, like way into the future. And even if you choose not to, like you can choose not to do that. But what you can do is you can give allies to everyone in your community, everyone who has helped you succeed, and people that you think should have a stake in your success. I think that's a very powerful like way to do things as opposed to like the traditional creator economy. And I think like over time, things like volatility and some of the hype and all of that's gonna subside.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that volatility, that both that Kathy brought up, that I think you, delved into really, really well, is really just a product of the time. So it makes a lot of sense, in this context. But I'm really excited about everything that role is doing, and look forward to everything you guys are doing in 2022 as well. Definitely think it's a platform to watch. So thank you so much for, giving us the rundown, chatting about all things role. And where can our audience go about to learn more about role if they are interested in contacting your team or working with you closer?
Yeah, I think like a website is a good starting point. So just tryroll.com. And also my DMs on Twitter are always open, so you can like drop me a note or like tweet at me. I'm SidKal, SIDKAL at Twitter.
Awesome. All right. Twitter seems to be the best place to go, as well as the website. Thank you again, Sid, for everything, and we will chat soon.
Thanks, Ali.
All right. Bye-bye. All right, that was Sid with Roll. And last up today, sadly, our last, definitely not our least, we have Jason Nellis, who is a strategic partnership manager at Meta. He is going to be coming in to be talking about an amazing platform called Super. So let's go ahead and welcome Jason in today. Hi, Jason.
Hey, Ali, good to see you. How are you?
Great to see you as well. It's amazing to see you on this platform because a lot of our audience probably recognizes you as someone who has hosted a number of VidCon Now Q&As over on your platform Super last year. I tuned into almost every one of those, and I've got to say, I got to tip my cap to the incredible conversations you facilitated there.
You're far too kind. As we were talking about before the start of the show, I set a low bar. You've exceeded it. I hope you know that. And it's been my pleasure to be able to support VidCon in all sorts of opportunities. You guys have an incredible, phenomenal team, and whatever I can do to help, I'm always happy to do so.
Well, it's been so much fun for us to play around on Super, but I think that a couple of people who are tuning in today might be unfamiliar with the platform. So I want to start from scratch, really get them warmed up to everything that you guys are about. For everyone who isn't familiar, can you tell us a little bit about some of the platform features and how you see those as kind of filling a void in the social streaming world right now?
Absolutely. So Super is an incubation that's part of what's known as Meta's new product experimentations team. And our idea is simple. When the pandemic hit and everybody was forced to be at home, we realized that there was a missed opportunity in in-person events, and in specifically events like Comic-Con, VidCon, GalaxyCon, where you get to meet your favorite celebrities and influencers. And so the concept started as a meet and greet platform. Where could I go to host an event as an influencer or celebrity to better engage with my fans directly, one-on-one, and give them something as a takeaway from that event, in our case a digital selfie. Since then, we've grown the platform in terms of functionality to be much more about facilitating lots of different kinds of conversations. And so our concept is really simple. We want whoever's hosting to feel like they have total control over a menu of options about how they want to host. So whether they want to have a direct conversation, they want to engage somebody in a podcast, they want to host trivia night for their friends, whatever the case may be, we want to give them that functionality in a smooth and easy way to do so. So one of the benefits of Super is that it's all in browser, whether it's desktop or mobile, doesn't require an additional download. And we make it as simple and easy as we can to not only set up a show, but also to join one and use whatever camera and microphone you happen to have handy to jump in. In terms of where it is, in terms of the larger space in live streaming these days, I think that, as we've seen from, certainly the conversation today as well as the larger atmosphere, more and more people are realizing the power of live. It's something that I've had some experience with in the last 15 years. I started my career at Hulu and we dabbled in live streams then. I think it's finally coming into its own, and it's just really exciting to be in this space and see what opportunities folks are generating that nobody thought of before, taking old ideas and making them new again in fun and innovative ways. It's so much fun to be in this space. How can you not enjoy it?
I agree. And it's like you said, it's all about fun and accessibility for, these creators and also the audiences that they are streaming to. And, it's interesting that you bring up, this whole idea of Super really being born out of a need within the pandemic, which I think is a theme across a lot of platforms that have been emerging over the past year or so. And I also feel super core to like Super's mission. But what are you and your team doing differently to distinguish yourself in this moment where it is kind of like a boom of different platforms connecting audiences and creators? Is there something that you guys feel like is super distinguishable in this space that at the moment could be described as pretty saturated?
Yeah, I think the first thing is that we are really building for ease of use. We got a really lovely compliment recently where somebody described that we were, unlike a lot of tool sets, creating sort of from the production studio and sort of bringing it back to sort of a middle ground, that we were really thinking about sort of the host and the influencer and the creator and thinking about ease of use and bringing it that direction. And that's really been a great driver for us. As I mentioned before, I come from a media background. I really believe that great product comes from the simplicity of its interface and by extension, the beauty of its interface. And so we really focus hard on Super's user experience as being one that is really pleasurable. Beyond that, I think that when you think about features, there are a lot of great platforms out there that have a lot of great features, and I don't want to dissuade anybody from trying other platforms. But I do believe that what we offer at Super that's really unique is that you can mix and match feature sets really easily, and the way in which we build out that functionality is intuitive. So if you're using it for the first time, as we've seen with many creators, there isn't a lot of guessing games around how to actually manage an existing live session. You see the thing, you click the thing, oh, it does the thing I expected it to do. Great, let's move on. And it's not a lot. It's not a sharp learning curve. But as I mentioned before, it's an incubation. We're always innovating on it. And so, the wonderful thing about our partnership with you all last year is that we really saw in the wilderness a lot of different use cases that helped us better understand what we could build that would make it a lot simpler for everyday users as well as seasoned professionals in the production space.
Yeah, and I think too, with that growth and with this idea that it is an incubation, and innovation is constantly ongoing. It's interesting to hear kind of the origin story and where this idea was born from. Where do you kind of see it heading? Is there like an ultimate goal of an evolution beyond what Super was created with in mind?
The great thing about it is that, we build organically. It's really a very constant thread within conversations at Meta at large that you build product not by anticipating a problem, but by looking at real life challenges and building to solve those things. I'm a great fan of the lean startup methodology, which always says start with a problem, solve for that problem, learn from that solution, and iterate accordingly. And we take a very similar path at Super. So for me, it's less about having a vision for where it's going to end up, because I think that sometimes that ends up being somewhat artificial. And instead, really listening to the feedback that we get from creators, from fans, from platform users, et cetera, to better solve problems for them. And not just create the solutions that they tell us that they want, but really thinking sort of that one level deeper and understanding the practical and emotional need. I'm always a fan of the old quote that if Henry Ford had listened to everybody, he would have built a faster horse instead of the Model T. We want to build the Model T. We want to really think about what's the real need, not just the faster version of what you think you need.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting approach. Oftentimes when talking with creators, I think, they're constantly in this ebb and flow of trying to fit who they are and what they do into the needs and kind of niches of different platforms, as opposed to these platforms really being built around who they are and what they're doing. And it sounds like that is really the method that you all are taking, which I think is incredible and really puts the creator first. What are kind of the benefits for a creator partnering with Super? Like, is there something there that you can really speak to?
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of what we are doing to serve the creator, and I want to apologize. It sounds like my wife and my son are having a really phenomenal game in the background, and now I'm just sad I'm not there.
It sounds like a good time.
Well, I think the one of the benefits I would point to is, again, as I mentioned earlier, it's really easy to set up and execute a live almost instantaneously. Beyond that, though, we do offer a number of features for creators to customize the show as they see fit. So, for example, if they want to monetize the show or not monetize the show, we don't have a specific requirement around that. We're always building and innovating new ways to engage audiences with not just the conversation, but also with being able to ask questions, being able to pose pose for super selfies, being able to host trivia nights for fans, and being able to pose polls and all sorts of silly and fun and engaging ways to make fans feel as though that in the moment experience is really valuable to them. On top of all of that, we also give you the option for taking those live streams and immediately downloading shortly after the end of the show, the VOD version of that, and replicating that however you want. So if you want to cut it up for social media usage, if you want to repurpose the whole thing for another platform, we're totally agnostic to that. And so even though we're a part of Meta, we really want to lean forward into the idea that it's meant to be ubiquitous to all users, ubiquitous to all creators in ways that they can find value. It does cause us, I will admit, to sometimes maybe being a little less focused in one specific use case versus another. But I think the team would agree with me that what we really find successful is giving the creator the impetus to say, this is how I want to build my show, and giving them as many features as reinforces that need for a lot of different kinds of users.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have an audience question here that I think actually just goes hand in hand with that idea. Neil asks, so what does super feel / look like for viewers? And what is the difference between how the big and small creators might actually use it? And then he adds that he can't wait to check it out. Do you find that there is, different needs or different feels when it comes to those differences between big and small creators?
Absolutely. I think with the way that it feels for experience is actually fairly similar to what we're seeing right now. Whether it's one person or several people, you have a couple of different talking heads that you can arrange in various layouts and formats on Super. One of the other things that we do offer is the ability to display media. So when you're showing off a video or a screenshot of some sort, we can rearrange those so that our images are still on the screen, but it's really pulling focus to the most important elements on the stage at a given time. In terms of the biggest use cases between small and big creators, I try hard not to think about creators in terms of their audience size so much as sort of the value that they're bringing to those fans. But for larger, let's say a Casey Neistat wants to use Super, for him, we anticipate a lot of people coming and viewing. So we give him really good controls over randomizing the audience that he's bringing up on the stage, or making it so that when he's answering questions, he can do so at scale so that it's not quite so overwhelming. For smaller creators, it's a great opportunity to take those super fans that you're building, that kindling of the fire that's going to exist in the near term, and be able to actually engage with them and build that heat, so to speak. So it's less about other platforms where it's a one-to-many distribution. I'm going live and everybody else can consume it. And it's really about finding the right use case for how you want to engage your super fans directly or in small groups. For smaller creators, ones that are new or emerging, even aspiring to be creators, we think it's a great opportunity to just build a little bit more momentum around those early super fans and turn them from, consumers to evangelists, and help them find new members of an audience.
Yeah, absolutely. And it looks like, that audience question might be our last of the day. I asked Sid and Ari, so I'm going to ask you as well. Yeah. How can anyone watching who might be intrigued, who wants to dabble in Super, how can they contact your team to learn more?
Well, first of all, I feel a little hurt that everybody used Twitter instead of their Facebook or Instagram handles, but that's fine. Whatever. I'm not that hurt. No, if you would like to learn more, we encourage everybody to join us over at super.events, where you can see previous shows as well as learn more about Super. If anybody has any questions, you can, of course, reach out to me at IG at Jason Nellis, or you can reach out to me at Twitter as well, which is also at Jason Nellis. I won't be hurt either way.
All right. Sounds like we have a lot of options there. Jason, thank you so much for chatting with us, for giving us the rundown on all things Super. And we look forward to having you again on VidCon Now sometime soon.
Thanks for having me. And Ali, I can't wait to see you host the next show of VidCon Now over on Super. I'm sure it's going to be super exciting. No pun intended.
I will be there. Have a super day.
Thanks.
Bye. All right, so that is everybody that we had come and chat with us today. Thank you to all of our guests. Thank you to everybody who tuned in and joined us today. And thank you to our sponsor, Amazon Live. Please be sure to go ahead and check out the VidCon Now agenda to get registered for some more VidCon Now sessions coming up soon. But in the meantime, hope you enjoyed all of our amazing speakers today, and hope you have a great rest of your day.